He held a gun to my wife, right on our front porch, broad daylight, in front of neighbors who just stood the Reno interrogation. No justifiable reason, just because my wife refused to tear down the fence he decided was offensive. Picture that. A guy swaggering in a police-style uniform, one he clearly bought online, playing judge, jury, and, well, you get the idea. I always thought scenes like that only happened in movies, that false power trip, until I watched my wife, hands tied behind her back, staring him down, and I realized some people will go to any length when you say no to their little kingdom. But here's the twist: picked the wrong person to push to the limit. And once the silence was broken in Oakwood Heights, the one faking authority finally had to pay the real price. We'd moved here just 2 years before, hoping for a quieter life after years of grinding away at stressful jobs. Sarah was 37. Told our neighbors she worked as a fitness consultant out at the military facility, and I'm Mike Thompson, 42, civil engineer, always happiest when I'm building something solid. The first stretch in Oakwood Heights felt almost too good. Barbecues, friendly waves, folks bringing cookies, and Derek Morrison, the cop next door, always first to lend a hand. For a few months, he really was the ideal neighbor. Helped me fix a busted water pipe, always complimented Sarah's yard work, even called us the model couple at block parties. I'll admit, his police cruiser out front made the whole street feel safe. But then we replaced our worn-out wooden fence with a 6-foot wrought iron one. Went through all the proper channels, got our permits, measured the lot lines, let the neighbors know nothing sneaky, nothing illegal. We were proud, honestly. But the moment that new fence went up, Derek's attitude snapped like a dry twig. No more friendly waves, just arms folded, standing in his yard, glaring at our contractor. His wife, Linda, started crossing the street to avoid us, wouldn't even say hello. And then he knocked on our door, uniform, polo and all, saying, "Mike, would you consider lowering that fence? It blocks my view of the street." When I explained we needed the privacy, especially with Sarah's work, he tried to pull the as HOA representative. I think we should prioritize community harmony, routine, a role he'd never mentioned before. A week later, we found an official-looking letter from a law firm, threatening $500 daily fines unless we lowered the fence. Sarah, who'd just wrapped up an intense workout in the backyard, took one look and scoffed, not easily shaken. When I called the law firm, the receptionist had no clue what I was talking about. They hadn't sent any letters to us. Someone forged the legal docs, which, is a federal crime. That's when the whisper campaign started. Neighbors avoided us. Cookies stopped coming. Notes appeared on our windshield. Maybe you should consider the good of the community. Even worse, some said we were outsiders, not a good fit for Oakwood Heights. Meanwhile, Sarah was on the phone more than ever, taking calls full of military jargon, her posture always sharp, alert. I started noticing things I'd missed before: how she'd scan a room when we ate out, always sit where she could see the exits. The fitness routines? They look more like something you'd see on a Navy SEAL training course. Everything blew up at Derek's so-called emergency HOA meeting, held right in front of our house. 20 neighbors, a new sign reading "Neighborhood Security Chairman," Derek shouting about our fence being a security risk, claiming it could hide suspicious activities. The way Sarah stood at our window, tracking every person's position like she was mapping out a tactical response. And then Derek drops the bomb. "I've done a background check on our new neighbor. Sarah Thompson works at a classified military facility. Her job's confidential." The crowd went dead silent. People started backing away, like we were radioactive. That's when I realized this was never about a fence. It was about power, control, and fear. The final confrontation came 1 week later. Derek arrived at our door with 2 other police officers, claiming they'd received anonymous tips about suspicious activity and possible weapon storage. The other officers looked uncomfortable, like they didn't buy his story, but Derek was smug, hand on his gun. Sarah stepped outside, black athletic uniform, a gold trident pin gleaming on her collar. "Happy to cooperate," she said, calm as ever. "But I'd like to see your search warrant." Derek tried to bluster his way through, but Sarah didn't flinch. She insisted on proper legal procedures, and something in her voice made even the real cops pause. When Derek got angry, hand inching toward his weapon, I saw it in Sarah's eyes. She was done playing defense. That night, Sarah sat me down, finally told me the truth. She wasn't just a fitness consultant. She was Senior Chief Petty Officer Sarah Thompson, Navy SEAL trainer, 18 years in the military, most of them in special operations. Derek's investigation had triggered military intelligence. He didn't have clearance from military records, yet somehow he knew where she worked. Either he had inside help, or he wasn't what he seemed. Turns out, he was neither. Sarah dug into his background with skills I didn't know she had, uncovering that Derek Morrison wasn't in any police records. His badge? A high-end fake ordered online. The neighborhood security chairman title? Pure invention. A real HOA hadn't even met in years. Within 2 days, Sarah learned his real identity. Derek Mitchell, former private security guard, fired for abuse of authority and faking reports, sued for harassment in 2 states, bounced from Arizona to California, running the same scam, posing as a cop, terrorizing neighborhoods. Linda, his wife, was in on it too, even staged a confession to mislead us. When we tried to report them, they were always one step ahead until Sarah changed tactics. She called in a favor her old SEAL teammate Rodriguez, now with the FBI. They set up surveillance, documented everything. The big twist? Derek wasn't just a petty fraud, was running a full-blown real estate racket, intimidating families into selling below market, then flipping homes for profit through shell companies. Our fence was just his latest excuse. But Sarah, with Rodriguez's help, gathered enough evidence to bury him. At the next HOA meeting, Sarah called Derek's bluff in front of everyone, asked for his badge number, pulled up the real police roster, showed receipts for his fake badges, even his mugshot. Neighbors finally saw the truth. Derek lost it, pulled a gun, tried to paint Sarah as the real threat. She didn't blink, disarmed, and zip-tied him before half the crowd could even react, placed him under citizen's arrest right there, charges ranging from impersonating an officer to aggravated assault. The crowd went from terrified to cheering. Someone live-streamed the whole thing by sundown. Sarah was a local legend. The police and FBI swooped in. Rodriguez told us Derek was part of a network targeting military families and defense workers, systematically harassing, driving them out, buying up properties. Our case broke the ring, led to 23 arrests in 6 states, exposed a campaign costing families millions. Congress even passed the Derek Mitchell Act, making it easier for citizens to verify officer identities and hammering impersonators with real jail time. Sarah was offered a position advising Homeland Security, declined HOA president, but stayed on the oversight committee, taught self-defense and situational awareness, helped rebuild the community. 6 months later, Oakwood Heights celebrated its first Unity Day, the old fear replaced by laughter and neighborly trust. Our 6-foot fence, once a symbol of division, now stood for dignity and the right to safety. As the sun set on another peaceful day, I asked Sarah if she regretted it, revealing her true self. She smiled, pointed to the new sign at the neighborhood entrance. Oakwood Heights, a community protected by truth and unity. Sometimes, she said, you keep secrets to protect, but sometimes you have to speak up for those you love. And as kids raced past, begging for cool moves at tomorrow's safety class, I realized this wasn't just our story. It was about what happens when ordinary people stand up for justice, even when it's terrifying. Derek thought fake power would win, but he never counted on a quiet hero fighting for what's right. That's what real security looks like. Now, I wonder, if it were your neighborhood, would you speak up, or would you let fear win? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Where's the line between privacy, safety, and the good of the community? Let's talk about it, because real justice starts with people like us refusing to stay silent.